A mind like yours was never meant to be ordinary. The chosen don't just think ahead, they see ahead, and that's why they fear you. They don't question your intelligence. They wonder about it. They whisper, they analyze, they try to make sense of something that was never meant for them to understand. But here's the truth. They aren't confused by what you know. They're haunted by how you know. They can't shake the feeling that you were given something they weren't. That wisdom, that sharpness, it isn't something you learned in a book. It isn't something that can be explained in logical steps. It's ancient. It's placed within you. It's the mark of the chosen. And that is exactly why they fight you. They don't see the universe moving behind the scenes. They don't realize that their resistance isn't against you. It's against something much greater. And when fools fight against the forces that have already decided your path, they don't win. They self-destruct. Before we go further, like and subscribe, not just for yourself, but for every chosen one walking this path. YouTube picks up signals when wisdom like this spreads, and your engagement helps it reach those who need it. Now, let's get into it. You've felt it, haven't you? That knowing, the feeling that you don't just learn things, you remember them. The way you sense things before they happen. The way your mind operates at a level that leaves others struggling to keep up. They see it, they feel it, and it unnerves them. Because the chosen ones don't just survive in this world, they navigate it like they've been here before. People look at you and wonder, how do they see through deception so easily? How do they stay 5 steps ahead of everyone else? How do they carry wisdom beyond their years? It's because your mind isn't limited by the same walls as theirs. They were taught to think inside the box. You were never placed inside one to begin with. And that's why they fear you. Because power without wisdom is reckless. But wisdom without limits, that's unstoppable. That's what makes the chosen ones different. Your intelligence is not just raw intellect. It's guided by something higher. You don't just understand the world, you decode it. You see what's hidden. You read between the lines. You pick up signals others are blind to. And the enemies you've made, they're not angry because they dislike you. They're angry because they can't fool you. They thought they could deceive you. They thought they could control the way you think. But they failed to realize you were built to see through the illusion. And now, they're left scrambling, trying to play a game they were never equipped to win. That's the power of being chosen. You don't just think differently, you are different. And no matter how much they scheme, how much they plot, how much they try to tear you down, one truth will always remain. You carry the wisdom of kings, and they will never understand how you are this smart. And to you, the one who sees what others don't, the one who knows without being told, thank you for being here. Whether this is your first time or you've been walking this path with us, your presence means more than you know. If you feel this message resonate deep within, like this video, subscribe, and drop the number 77 in the comments. A signal that the wisdom within you is awakening. And now, let's break it down step by step. Believe me, if you are truly chosen, you'll feel the pull to stay until the very end. Let's get started. Number 1. They thought they could outsmart you, but they were playing against the system itself. A fool thinks he's winning until he realizes he was never in the game. They weren't just fighting you, they were fighting the unseen forces that move in your favor. And in that battle, they never stood a chance. They thought they were ahead, thought they had you figured out, thought they could manipulate, deceive, or control you. But what they didn't understand is that you are not operating on their level. You never were. They were playing checkers on a board the universe already rigged in your favor. And when the universe chooses someone, every force aligns to clear their path. Every setback becomes a setup. Every betrayal becomes redirection. Every enemy becomes their own worst weapon. And that's the part they'll never understand. They ask themselves, why does everything seem to work out for them in the end? How do they always land on their feet? Why does every attempt to break them only make them stronger? Because they were never just fighting you. They were fighting the system built to protect you. They tried to rewrite a script that was already sealed. They thought they could bend the universe to their will, but they forgot one thing. You were chosen. And the chosen don't operate by ordinary rules. You don't gain wisdom like everyone else. Some people learn through failure. Others gain knowledge through study. But then there's you, the one who just knows, the one who doesn't need to experience every fall to understand the lesson, the one whose mind pieces together answers before the questions are even asked. And that terrifies them, because they were taught that power comes from effort, from climbing ladders, from playing the game. But your power, it was never earned. It was given, built into you from the moment you arrived in this world. And no amount of scheming, no amount of plotting, no amount of deceit can strip away what was always meant to be yours. They see it, they feel it, and it shakes them. You've heard the whispers. How do they figure things out so quickly? How do they always seem to be 2 steps ahead? How do they see through lies that fool everyone else? They assume you spend hours analyzing, that you sit in the dark plotting, obsessing, calculating. But the truth is, you don't need to. Your mind moves like it's connected to something greater, because it is. Your intuition isn't a lucky guess. Your instincts aren't random. It's the wisdom that's been inside you long before this lifetime. The kind of knowing that can't be taught, only carried. And that's what separates you from them. They scramble, trying to predict your next move, trying to figure out what you know. They act like they're ahead, but deep down, they feel it. They're playing a game they'll never win, because their entire strategy depends on illusions, deception, control. And you see right through it. You don't get distracted by smoke and mirrors. You don't fall for the traps they set for lesser minds. They pretend they don't believe in fate, but when everything they throw at you keeps backfiring, they're forced to question everything. Because if this world was fair, their tricks would work. If intelligence was earned, they'd be ahead. If power was man-made, they'd be in control. But it's not. And that reality, that truth, it haunts them, because no matter how much they fight it, wisdom can't be stolen, knowledge can't be faked, and what was given to you by the universe cannot be taken away. So let them plot, let them underestimate, let them convince themselves that they're winning, because one day they'll realize what you've known all along. They were never playing against you. They were playing against the universe itself, and the universe does not lose. Number 2. They call it a coincidence, but you see the code. The world speaks to you in ways they'll never understand. A blind man stumbles through the storm, thinking it's chaos, but the one who sees, he moves like the storm was planned for him. They look at you and call it luck. They assume you're just good at reading people, good at predicting outcomes, good at putting pieces together. But they're wrong. This isn't luck. This isn't skill. This is a deeper knowing, an awareness they'll never have. While they wander through life, blind to the patterns right in front of them, you see it all. Every moment, every conversation, every shift in energy. It all fits into a larger design. The world isn't random to you. It never has been. They see coincidences. You see connections. They hear words. You hear meaning. They focus on the surface. You decode what's underneath. And that terrifies them, because it means they can't fool you. It means their lies don't work. It means their little manipulations, their hidden intentions, their carefully crafted illusions, all of it shatters the moment you lay eyes on it. They call you paranoid, but deep down, they know the truth. You're just aware. You catch things they don't even realize exist. The hesitation in their voice when they're lying. The micro-expression they can't hide, no matter how hard they try. The way a situation unfolds a little too perfectly, or a little too conveniently. They assume you spend hours analyzing, breaking things down, playing detective in your head. But you don't. It happens automatically. Your mind processes before others even realize there's something to notice. And that's where the fear sets in. Because when they realize they can't lie to you, when they understand that their tricks don't work, when they feel exposed under the weight of your perception, that's when they turn against you. They don't fear what you say. They fear what you see. And so, they do what all weak minds do. They dismiss you, call you crazy, say you're overthinking, say you're imagining things. But the funny part? You've been right every single time. Every warning you gave? Proven true. Every person you saw through? Exposed. Every outcome you predicted? It happened exactly the way you said it would. And yet, they still act surprised. Still question how you knew. Still pretend it was just a lucky guess. But it wasn't. Because this isn't about intuition. This isn't about some vague sixth sense. It's about seeing the world for what it really is. Everything has a pattern, a rhythm, a hidden layer beneath the obvious. And while others walk through life blind, oblivious to the deeper meaning behind things, you navigate it with ease. You don't just exist in this world, you decode it. And that's why, whether they admit it or not, they always come to you. They trust your instincts, even when they pretend not to. They ask for your advice, even when they don't follow it. They rely on you to understand what they cannot. Because they know. They may not be able to explain it, they may not want to admit it, but deep down, they feel it. You know something they don't, and it haunts them. Because if you can see the truth so easily, if you can read between the lines they didn't even know existed, if you can predict what they can't even fathom, what else do you see that they don't? That question keeps them up at night. That question makes them uncomfortable in your presence. That question reminds them that no matter how much they try to control their world, you are the one who sees the strings. Number 3. They mistake your silence for weakness until they realize it was the setup for their own downfall. The loudest in the room is always the weakest. The sharpest mind doesn't need to announce itself. It waits, it watches, and when it finally speaks, it ends the game in a single move. They thought you were passive, thought you didn't have the words, thought your silence meant you were unsure, unprepared, maybe even intimidated. But what they failed to realize is this: you were never silent because you had nothing to say. You were silent because you were gathering everything you needed to know. They ran their mouths, spilled their plans, exposed their insecurities, thinking they were dominating the conversation, thinking they had the upper hand. Meanwhile, you sat back, watching, listening, calculating. By the time you finally spoke, the game was already over. Because here's what they don't understand about someone like you. Your silence isn't submission, it's strategy. They assume power belongs to the loudest, that those who talk the most, who argue the hardest, who force their words into every conversation, are the ones in control. But power, real power, it doesn't need to announce itself, it doesn't need to prove anything. It waits, it observes, and when the time is right, it moves with precision. That's what sets you apart. You let people reveal themselves before you ever reveal your hand. You listen to what they say, but more importantly, to what they don't say. You hear the hesitation in their voice. You see the cracks in their confidence. You watch them overcompensate, trying to assert dominance, not realizing they're exposing exactly what they're trying to hide. And the best part? They do it all willingly. They think they're in control of the conversation. They think they're leading. They think they're impressing you, deceiving you, or outsmarting you. But in reality, they're handing you every piece of information you need to dismantle them in an instant. And when you finally speak, when you drop that one sentence, that one perfectly placed response that cuts straight through the noise, it's already too late for them, because they weren't debating with you. They were exposing themselves to you. That's why people either gravitate toward you or fear you. Some admire your presence. They respect the way you carry yourself, the way you don't waste words, the way your silence holds more weight than most people's speeches. They recognize that your energy is different, rooted in something deeper, something stronger. But others? They hate it. It makes them uneasy, because they don't know what you're thinking. They can't read you like you read them. They feel vulnerable in your presence, even if they don't understand why. And that terrifies them. They try to provoke you just to see if they can get a reaction. They push, they test, they poke at your composure, desperate to find a crack. Because if they can't predict you, if they can't control the way you respond, if they can't figure out what's going on in that mind of yours, then they've already lost. And that's the truth they refuse to accept. You don't need to be the loudest. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to play their games. Because while they scramble, while they expose themselves, while they make mistake after mistake, trying to assert their dominance, you're sitting back, watching them dig their own grave. And when the moment comes, when you finally decide to move, one sentence, one look, one perfectly timed response, that's all it takes to end them. So let them misunderstand your silence. Let them believe it's weakness. Let them think they're winning. Because one day they'll realize what you've known all along. The most dangerous one in the room is never the loudest. It's the one who's been quietly listening the entire time. Number 4, they struggle to keep up. Because you don't follow logic, you rewrite it. The greatest trick a chosen one ever pulled was making the impossible look effortless. They thought they were playing by the rules, until they realized you were the one writing them. They don't understand you. They never have. Because while they're trapped inside the limits of what they've been taught is possible, you're already 10 steps ahead, bending reality to your will. What seems like a dead end to them, just another doorway for you. What they call impossible, you barely consider a challenge. And that shakes them, because it means they are bound by rules that you are not. They look at you and wonder, how do they come up with ideas no one else thinks of? Why do they always find a way when there shouldn't be one? How do they make things work that shouldn't even be possible? It's because they were taught to accept limits, but you were born to break them. They think inside the lines. You move beyond them. They follow the rules. You reshape them. They operate within the box. You don't even acknowledge the box exists. And when they realize this, when they see you accomplish things they swore couldn't be done, that's when the fear sets in. Because to them, reality is rigid, unchangeable, a system of rules that must be followed. And yet, here you are, bending those rules with ease, walking through walls they didn't even know had doors. It terrifies them, because if the limits they believed in their whole lives were never real to begin with, what else have they been wrong about? And that's why they resent you, because it's easier to call you lucky than to admit their own blindness. Easier to label you crazy than to accept their own limitations. Easier to act like you're just different than to face the fact that they have spent their entire lives caging their own potential. And the irony? The very same people who dismiss you are the ones who secretly depend on you. Because when they get stuck, when their so-called logical paths collapse, when they have no answers left, who do they turn to? You. The one who always finds a way. The one who doesn't just see possibilities, but creates them. The one who operates on a level they'll never reach, because they're too afraid to step outside of their comfortable, controlled world. They hate how much they need you. But what they fail to realize is that this isn't about intelligence. This isn't about studying harder, thinking deeper, or analyzing longer. This is about being chosen. Because wisdom like yours isn't learned. It isn't something you acquire through time and effort. It's something that was placed within you, something built into the very fabric of your mind. You didn't decide to be this way. You just are. And whether they like it or not, that's never going to change. So let them talk, let them doubt, let them convince themselves that their logic is superior while they continue to hit dead ends. Because no matter how much they try to outthink you, you will always be the one who makes the impossible look easy. Number 5. They can't explain it, but they feel it. Your presence alone changes the game. A storm doesn't announce itself, it just arrives. And the wise don't question the wind. They move with it, or they get blown away. They don't know why, but they can't ignore it. The moment you step into a room, something shifts. Conversations pause mid-sentence. People glance up instinctively. The energy around you bends, reshapes itself, adjusts to you. Some try to dismiss it, pretend they didn't feel that shift. But deep down, they know. You were never just another face in the crowd. Some people demand attention with noise, with power plays, with forced confidence. But you don't need to do anything. Your existence itself carries a weight they can't define. And that shakes them to their core. Because presence is a form of power. And real power isn't loud. It's undeniable. They admire it. They fear it. But no one can ignore it. And that's what unsettles them the most. They'll never admit it, but they feel the pull toward you. It's not attraction. It's not intimidation. It's something deeper, like they're in the presence of something that shifts the very fabric of reality. And that's because they are. Your presence isn't just strong, it's fated. It's the kind of energy that moves things into place, that makes people rethink their words, their choices, their own existence. Some are drawn to you like a compass to the north. Others resist, fight against it, convince themselves that you're just another person. But even they feel it. That deep, nagging sense that something bigger is at play when you're around. That their lives, their decisions, their interactions are somehow different when you're in the room. And they're right. Because you don't just enter spaces, you shift them. You carry something in your presence that can't be faked, can't be imitated, can't be ignored. And whether people realize it consciously or not, their souls react to it. Some will gravitate toward you, seeking your wisdom, your energy, your understanding. They'll see you as a guide, as a force that just knows what to do, when to move, how to navigate. Others, they'll fight it. They'll get defensive, irritated, uncomfortable in your presence. not because you've done anything, but because your very existence exposes them. Your presence alone makes them question things they don't want to face. It forces them to look at themselves in a way they never have before. It makes them aware of things they wish they could ignore. And so, they try to push back, to resist, to diminish what they know they feel. But resistance is useless, because you don't need validation, you don't need permission, you don't need acceptance. You were placed in this world with a presence that commands attention, not through force, but through destiny. And that can't be undone. They ask themselves, why does the energy shift when they walk in? Why do I feel different around them? Why does everything seem to align or unravel when they're present? Because your presence is not just a moment, it's a movement. When you step into a space, the universe adjusts accordingly. The right people take notice, the wrong ones feel exposed. Opportunities shift. The air itself changes. Some call it charisma, some call it energy, some call it fate. But the truth? It's the weight of being chosen. And the moment they feel it, whether they embrace it or deny it, nothing is ever the same again. Number 6. They thought they could deceive you, but you read the lies behind the lies before they even spoke them. A liar fears two things: the truth and the one who can see it before he speaks. They believed they were in control, that their words could twist reality, that their carefully crafted lies could shape your perception. They assumed you would believe what they wanted you to believe, but they never understood who they were dealing with. You don't just catch lies, you read the lies behind the lies. While others detect dishonesty through obvious cues, through hesitation, eye movements, stumbles in speech, you don't need any of that. You sense deception before it even takes form, before the words leave their lips, before the excuse is made, before the mask is even put on. Because you don't just listen to words, you hear what's missing. You don't just watch actions, you understand the intent behind them. And that makes them nervous. They can't fool you, and they hate you for it. You've seen it time and time again. The moment a liar realizes you've unraveled them before they even start, the way they shift, the way their confidence wavers, the way their energy changes as they sense your gaze cutting through their illusion. Because they weren't just hoping to trick you, they were counting on it. But you were never an easy target. While they try to construct a false reality, you're already breaking it apart, brick by brick. They think they're controlling the narrative, when in reality, they're exposing themselves with every word they speak. They don't just fear your intelligence, they fear your perception, because they can manipulate the blind, they can deceive the ones who only listen to the surface. But what do you do when someone sees beyond what's being said? They wonder how you knew, how you saw through their perfect act, how you sensed the lie when everything seemed believable, how you uncovered the truth before they even had a chance to finish their sentence. They don't realize that deception has a frequency, a rhythm, a feeling, and the chosen ones don't just hear it, they recognize it before it even plays. Because a lie isn't just in the words, it's in the gaps between them. It's in the energy, the hesitation, the misalignment between what's spoken and what's felt. And while others get caught up in details, in proof, in evidence, you don't need any of that. You simply know. And that terrifies them, because it means they have nowhere to hide. No matter how well rehearsed their deception is, no matter how many people they've fooled before, no matter how confident they seem in their manipulation, the moment they cross paths with you, it falls apart. They try to gaslight you, make you question what you know, convince you that you're just overthinking. but deep down they know the truth. You were right, and you've always been right. And that is what drives them insane, because to them, deception is a game, a power move, a way to stay in control. But against you, it's not a game. It's a slow, painful exposure of their own weakness. They get frustrated when you don't react the way they expect, when you don't fall for the emotional traps they set, when you don't buy into their sob stories or their fake justifications. They call you cold, distant, paranoid. But what they really mean is, I hate that you see me for what I really am. Because at the end of the day, manipulators can only exist in a world where people are blind. But you were given sight, and that's why they fear you. Because the worst thing that can happen to a liar is meeting someone who sees through them before they even speak. Number 7. They can measure intelligence, but they'll never be able to measure you. They study, they struggle, they train their minds to compete. But you walk in already knowing. They want to define you, to categorize you, to explain you away with tests and labels. But every time they try, they fail, because you don't fit inside their neatly constructed boxes. You're not just smart, you're something else entirely, something they don't have a word for. They see intelligence as something that must be earned, something that requires years of learning, experience, and effort. But you absorb truth as if it was already inside you, waiting to be remembered. And that shakes them to their core, because it doesn't make sense to them. How do you grasp concepts instantly while they have to struggle? How do you predict outcomes effortlessly while they fumble their way through life? How do you see connections they can't, recognize truths they miss, and navigate the world as if you've done this all before? It's unexplainable. And what they can't explain, they fear. They tell themselves you're just lucky, that you must have studied more, that you must have access to something they don't. And they're right, because what you have can't be trained, can't be taught, can't be replicated. It's built into you, and that's what separates the chosen ones from the rest. They work hard to climb the mountain. They sweat, they struggle, they fight for every inch of progress. Meanwhile, you already see the path they don't even know exists. They mistake their difficulty for depth, assuming wisdom must come through hardship. But for you, knowledge isn't a mountain to climb. It's an ocean, and you were born swimming in it. That's why they don't get you. They try to test you, to catch you off guard, to find the limits of what you know. But there's no limit, because your mind doesn't work like theirs. They analyze, you absorb, they memorize, you understand. They ask how you know. You don't have an answer, because you just do. And that's the part that truly bothers them. Because if intelligence is something that can be measured, if knowledge is something that must be accumulated, if wisdom is something that must be earned, then how do you exist? How do you break every rule they were taught? How do you bypass the struggle they believe is necessary? How do you move through life knowing things before anyone even realizes there's something to learn? That's when their admiration turns to suspicion. Because if you can't be explained, then you can't be controlled. And they need you to be controlled. They need to believe that intelligence is something that follows their rules. That knowledge is something they can quantify, measure, and dictate. But you are living proof that there are forces they will never understand. Because the chosen ones aren't just intelligent, they are beyond explanation. And that is the greatest threat to a world built on illusions. So they'll call you arrogant. They'll call you strange. They'll say you're making things up, exaggerating, imagining. Not because they actually believe that, but because they need to. Because to accept the truth would mean accepting their own limitations. And that's something their ego will never allow. But none of that matters, because no amount of denial will ever change reality. They will spend their entire lives trying to figure out what comes naturally to you. They will study, train, and struggle to reach a level of understanding that you were born with. And that's why, no matter how much they try to define you, they will always fail. Because they can measure intelligence, but they will never be able to measure you. Number 8. They can lie to the world, but not to you. Your presence alone strips their illusions bare. A mask is useless when the eyes staring back see straight through it. They thought they could hide, but you were never looking at the surface. You were looking into their soul. You don't have to speak. You don't have to question. You don't have to expose them. Your mere presence does it for you. They shift uncomfortably when you walk into the room. Their words become forced, their energy unsettled, their carefully crafted personas, so convincing to everyone else, begin to crack under the weight of your gaze. Because they know that you see them, the real them, the one behind the mask, the one they try to keep buried beneath deception, performance, and self-denial. And that terrifies them. Because most people spend their entire lives building walls to keep the world from seeing their truth. They construct entire identities, false personalities, rehearsed behaviors, artificial confidence, just to avoid the one thing they fear most, being truly seen. And then there's you. You don't even have to try. You don't need them to confess. You don't need evidence. You just know. It's in the way they hesitate before answering your question. It's in the way their energy shifts when they're hiding something. It's in the way they avoid eye contact, because looking at you feels too much like looking in a mirror. You don't just hear their words, you hear what's underneath them. You don't just see their actions, you see the motives behind them. And that's why, when they're around you, they're forced to confront things they've spent years running from. Some people, they find peace in this. They gravitate toward you because, for once, they don't have to pretend. Around you, they don't have to fake it. They don't have to wear the mask. They know that you see them, flaws, fears, contradictions and all, and yet you don't judge them for it. You understand. And that kind of acceptance, that kind of insight, it's rare. It's something they can't find anywhere else. But others can't handle it, because you are a walking reminder of the truths they refuse to face. And so they avoid you. They dislike you without reason. They talk about you behind your back. They feel uneasy in your presence, but they can't explain why. It's not because you've done anything wrong. It's not because you've said anything offensive. It's because, deep down, they fear exposure. They fear what might happen if they spend too much time around you, if they let their guard down, if they let your energy strip away the illusion they've spent their entire life perfecting. Because once the illusion is gone, what's left? Without their mask, without their act, without the layers of deception, they are left standing face to face with the one thing they've avoided their entire lives, the truth of who they really are. And not everyone is ready for that. So they lash out, they push you away, they create reasons to dislike you. But here's the thing, it's never about you. It was never about you. It was always about them. You are simply the mirror, the reflection of what they try to suppress, the presence that makes it impossible for them to keep lying to themselves. And that is a power few people possess. It's not something you asked for. It's not something you trained for. It's something within you. something that has always been there. You don't force people to confront themselves. You don't call them out. You don't demand the truth. You simply exist. And that alone is enough to shake them to their core, because they can wear the mask anywhere else. They can deceive everyone else. They can keep up the act for as long as they want. But when they stand before you, the mask falls. Number 9. They claw for power, but you were born with it. That's why they hate you. A throne can be stolen, a title can be bought, but true power, that can only be recognized, and that's why they'll never have what you have. Look around. Watch how they scramble, how they claw their way to the top, how they beg for respect, demand authority, and scheme for influence. They build their little empires, hoping to be seen as powerful. They force people to obey, thinking that control is the same as leadership. And yet, without trying, without even wanting it, you are the one people turn to. That's the part they can't stand. Because while they fight, manipulate, and sell their souls for a taste of power, you never had to chase it. It finds you. You've seen it happen over and over again. You enter a room, and within minutes people are drawn to you. They listen when you speak, even if you say little. They feel something in you, something rare, something steady, something real. They call it charisma. They call it presence. They call it natural leadership. But the truth? It's something they will never understand. Because power isn't something you take. It's something that is recognized. And when someone truly carries it, when it's real, when it wasn't stolen, faked, or forced, people just know. That's why they follow you. That's why they trust your direction over the loudest voice in the room. That's why those who claim to be in charge still feel small in your presence. Because deep down, they know their power is borrowed and yours is built in. And that terrifies them. They don't understand how you do it. They don't understand why people respect you without you demanding it. They don't understand why leaders seek your advice when you never asked to be in their circle. So they hate you for it. They assume you must have cheated your way into influence, that you must have some hidden agenda, that you must be playing the same dirty game they play, but you're not. Because you don't chase power. Power chases you, and the ones who fought for it their whole lives. That truth breaks them. They spent years forcing people to recognize them, years climbing social ladders, years demanding to be seen as important, only to watch you walk in, say nothing, and still command more presence than they ever could. And now, they don't know what to do with you. You see it in their eyes, the forced smiles, the nervous laughter, the fake kindness wrapped around real insecurity. They don't hate you because you did something wrong. They hate you because you exist as proof that real power can't be manufactured. And when you walk into the room, when people shift toward you, when conversations naturally bend in your direction, it reminds them that all their effort, all their posturing, all their desperate attempts to be seen as important, it was all for nothing. Because while they were chasing the throne, you never needed one to begin with. And that's a level of power they will never reach. Number 10. They struggle to learn, you breathe it in. They chase knowledge, you are knowledge. A mind like yours was never meant to be taught, it was meant to remember. They cram information, you absorb reality itself. They sit in classrooms, flipping through pages, repeating facts over and over, hoping they'll stick. They need charts, explanations, step-by-step guides. They struggle, they strain, they try to catch up. But you don't learn like they do. You become what you learn. It's effortless, It's second nature. Information doesn't just sit in your brain, it fuses with you, becomes part of your instincts, rewires your thinking. While others memorize, you internalize. While they study the idea, you embody the essence. And they notice. They ask, "How do you know this stuff when you've never studied it? How did you figure that out so quickly? How do you understand things that take others years to grasp?" They assume you've been secretly trained, that you've spent years obsessing over topics they barely understand. But the truth? It's always been there. It's not about reading more books. It's not about taking more courses. It's not about practice, repetition, or hard work. It's something deeper, something older. Because when you're chosen, knowledge doesn't come from effort. It comes from alignment. You don't just learn, you absorb. The moment information enters your space, it belongs to you. Your mind makes connections instantly, linking ideas in ways others can't even comprehend. And that unsettles them. Because it means no matter how much they study, no matter how many hours they put in, they'll never reach what comes to you naturally. They try to close the gap, but the distance only grows. And so, they lie to themselves. They say you're just lucky. They say you were taught differently. They say it's all coincidence. But deep down, they know. They know they could spend a lifetime in the same books, the same discussions, the same experiences, and still not see what you see. And that burns them alive. Because they thought knowledge was earned. They thought wisdom was something you gain over time. But then you show up, understanding things you were never supposed to know, solving problems they haven't even figured out exist. It makes them uneasy. Because if you didn't study for this, if you didn't struggle like they did, if you didn't take the proper path to intelligence, then what does that make them? It makes them irrelevant. Because for all their years of learning, for all their titles and certifications, they still don't get it the way you do. And that's why, whether they admit it or not, they watch you. They listen when you speak. They study how you think, hoping to catch a glimpse of what makes you different. Because you're not just intelligent, you're something else. Your wisdom isn't learned, it's embedded. It lives in you. It's why you grasp concepts without effort. It's why you just know things before others do. It's why people come to you when they need an answer, not a guess, not a theory, but the truth. And it's also why they'll resent you. Because for them, knowledge is a struggle, a battle, a race. For you, it's a birthright. They can't stand it, but they can't deny it. So let them pretend. Let them convince themselves that you're not really different. Let them downplay your understanding. Tell themselves that someday, somehow, they'll catch up. Because the truth, you were always 10 steps ahead, and they were never meant to follow. Number 11. They thought their reality was solid until you shattered it without lifting a finger. The strongest prisons are built in the mind, and when you walk in, their walls start to crack. You don't argue. You don't force your perspective on anyone. You don't need to. Your very existence is a threat to their carefully constructed illusions. People live inside mental cages, trapped by the beliefs they were given, the lies they were told, the narratives they never dared to question. They build their lives on shaky foundations, convinced that their version of reality is the reality. And then they meet you. You don't speak to impress. You don't challenge for the sake of argument. You simply see things differently. You question what they accepted without thinking. You look at the same situation and pull out meaning they never even considered. And that terrifies them. Because the moment they hear you, the moment they're exposed to your way of thinking, something inside them shifts. They may resist it, they may reject it, they may even lash out. But it doesn't matter. The damage is already done. Because once the mind sees a crack in the illusion, it can never unsee it. They feel it, don't they? That discomfort when they talk to you, that sudden uncertainty about things they were so sure of before, that sinking realization that maybe, just maybe, they've been operating under a lie this entire time. And some, they embrace it. They wake up. They let go of their old ways of thinking and allow their minds to expand. But others, they fight. They have to. Because if you're right, if your perception of reality is clearer than theirs, then everything they believed in starts to crumble. Their ego, their sense of control, their entire identity is at stake. And that's too much for most people to handle. So they lash out, they mock you, they dismiss you as weird, too deep, overthinking, not because they actually believe it, but because it's the only defense they have left. Because deep down, they felt it. That moment when their mind stuttered, that flicker of realization, that split second when they questioned everything. And that's why, whether they admit it or not, you leave them changed. Some will try to ignore it. Some will pretend they never heard you. Some will even push you away. But they will never be the same. Because truth has a way of lingering. Days, weeks, even years later, something will happen, something that proves your words right. And suddenly, they'll remember what you said. They'll remember you. And they'll realize you weren't just talking. You were telling them something their mind wasn't ready for. And that's the power of being chosen. You don't need a stage. You don't need an army. You don't need validation. Your presence alone, your thoughts alone, are enough to disrupt entire realities. You don't just exist in this world, you shift it. So let them react however they want. Let them reject, let them resist, let them call you names. It doesn't matter, because deep down, you already won. And the greatest part, you weren't even trying. Number 12. They cling, you release, and that's why you win. A fool holds onto the rope, even as it burns his hands. The wise one lets go, because he knows the fall is not the end, but the beginning. They don't understand how you do it, how you can walk away so effortlessly, how you don't chase, don't beg, don't force people to see what you already know. To them, letting go looks like weakness. They think it means giving up. They think it means losing. But that's because they don't understand the one thing you've always known. True wisdom isn't about control. It's about release. And that's why you move differently. They fight to hold on to things that no longer serve them. They cling to arguments that lead nowhere. They waste time trying to convince people who have no intention of understanding. But you let them go. Not because you don't care, but because you do. You know that some lessons can't be taught, only lived. You could explain, but they wouldn't hear you. You could warn, but they wouldn't believe you. You could try to save them, but they'd fight you every step of the way. So instead, you step back, not in defeat, but in wisdom, because you understand something they don't. The truth doesn't need defenders. It stands on its own, and whether they realize it today, tomorrow, or years from now, time will reveal everything. That's the part they never see coming. They mistake your silence for surrender. They assume you've lost. But in reality, you're just watching the universe do its work, because every single time, without fail, the truth finds its way to the surface. And when it does, the people who doubted you, betrayed you, laughed at you, They will remember the words you never said. They'll remember how you didn't argue when they disrespected you. They'll remember how you didn't fight to prove yourself right. They'll remember how you walked away while they stayed behind, clinging to their own illusions. And in that moment, they'll finally understand. You weren't weak. You were simply ahead of them. And that's the difference between you and them. They need the last word. You need peace. They need validation. You need growth. They need control. You trust the process, because you know that the strongest person in the room is the one who doesn't need to prove it. You've mastered something they never will, the ability to let go without fear. And that terrifies them, because they need attachments, they need constant reassurance, they need to feel like they're in control. And when they see you move on without hesitation, without regret, without them, it forces them to question everything. Why aren't you chasing? Why aren't you arguing? Why aren't you begging them to see your side? Because you never needed to. You don't seek revenge, because you know the universe will handle what needs to be handled. You don't force outcomes, because you trust that what's meant for you will never miss you. You don't waste time on people who don't value you, because you understand that real power is knowing when to walk away. And the best part, the moment you release what isn't meant for you, the universe rushes in to replace it with something better. That's why you're always 10 steps ahead. That's why things always fall into place for you. That's why the people who underestimated you always end up wondering how you're still thriving, while they're stuck in the same cycles, trapped by the very things they refused to let go of. They didn't lose because you left. They lost because they held on too long. And one day, they'll understand that the hardest truth of all is the one you accepted long ago. Real wisdom isn't just knowing when to fight. It's knowing when to walk away. And that's the difference between you and them. They hold on to what drains them. You release what no longer serves you. That's why you keep rising while they stay stuck. The universe moves for those who trust its flow. And you? You've mastered the art of letting go. If this message resonated, like this video, subscribe and drop the number 77 in the comments, a sign that you're stepping fully into your wisdom. Share this with another chosen one who needs to hear it, because when we rise together, the universe takes notice. Stay sharp, stay wise, keep moving forward.